обитателите на Ада се намират под влиянието на различни гуни на материалната природа – добро, страст и невежество. Но всяко от тези гуни осъри, като се с другите две, се разделя отново на три, и затова всяко живо същество оформя наклонностите си от смесеното влияние и на трите гуни. Коментарът на Прабхупада. Всяко живо същество се намира под влиянието на определена гуна на природата, но в същото време не е застраховано от влиянието на останалите две. Обикновено обусловените души в затвора на материалния свят са под влиянието на гуната на страстта, защото се стремят да господстват на материалната природа, за да осъществят желанията си. Но въпреки преобладаващото влияние на гуната на страстта, винаги съществува възможността тя да се окаже под въздействието и на другите гуни, в зависимост от това с кого общуват. Благоприятната среда способства развитието на гуната на доброто, а лошата развитието на гуната на мрака или невежеството. Нищо не е застигнало неизменно. Чрез доброто или лошото общуване, след коренно може да промени навиците си. Затова трябва да бъде достатъчно разумен, за да може да отличава доброто от лошото. Най-доброто обкръжение е обществото на преданно отдадени, които служат на Бога. В процеса на общуването с тях, човек може да развие най-висшите добродетели в помощта на чистите преданно отдадени. Както вече научихме, Шрила Нарада Муни станал велик преданно отдаден на Бога, просто като общувал с чисти преданно отдадени. Той бил роден като син на просто слугиня, но там кой е баща му и нямал дори елементарно образование. Но благодарение на това, че общувал с преданно отдадени и едял остатъците от храната им, той постепенно развил себе си техните трансцендентални качества. В процеса на общуването с тях, той развил вкус на успяване и слушане за трансценденталното величие на Бога. А тъй като славата на Бога не се получава от самия Бог, Нарада общувал непосредствено с Бога в неговия звуков образ. От друга страна, познаваме живота на Аджамил, описано в 6-та песен, който бил син на брамена, имал добро образование и знае как да изпълнява задълженията си на брамена. Но въпреки всичко това, заради връзката си с едната структура, допаднал до равнището на най-нишите чандали, най-деградираните човешки същества. Това Бхагава там постоянно призовава човек да общува с махатси, велики душите, защото това общуване отваря пред него вратите на освобождението. Да общува с хора, които се опитват да господстват на материалния свят, означава да пропадне до най-крайните владения на Ада. Човек трябва да общува с велики души, за да се извиси. Това е пътят към съвършенство.
Sattvam rajastama iti tishra surani narakaha tatapi ekaikasho rajan vidyate gatayastritha yadaikai kataro anyabhyam svabhava upahanyate. According to the different modes of material nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of darkness, there are different living creatures who are known as demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. O king, even a particular mode of nature being mixed with the other two is divided into three, and thus each kind of living creature is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also. So it is stated here that according to the different modes of material nature, there are different living creatures. This is the actual answer to the question why there are so many different living entities in this world. And that's the answer, because of the modes of material nature. It is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita that according to the association with a particular mode, living entity takes on a particular body. In this way he comes in contact with the good or evil living bodies. As mentioned in the purport, that according to the modes, there are higher living species, there are lower living species.
в зависимост от гуните има по-висши видове живот и по-нисши.
There are living forms, living species situated in the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance.
Има живи същества, които се намират съответно в гуната на доброто, страстта и невежеството.
But then there are so many varieties of mixtures also, just like it is mentioned here. Even a particular mode of nature being mixed with the other two is divided into three.
Освен тези три гуни на природата, съществуват и много други, защото, както се казва тук, всяка от тези гуни, като се смеси с другите две, се разделя отново на три.
So 3 multiplied by 3 equals 9, by 9 equals 81, etc.
И 3 умножено по 3 е 9, 9 по 9 е 81 и така нататък.
Then we come to 8,400,000 species of life.
И по този начин се стига до 8,400,000 форми на живота.
So these are all varieties evolving out of a mixture of these three modes of material nature.
И всички, цялото това разнообразие се поражда от смесването на трите гуни.
So another point is also like mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita.
И друго нещо, за което се споменава тук, се говори в Бхагавад Гита.
That sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the mode of passion and ignorance.
Казва се, че понякога гуната на доброто става по-силно от гуната на страстта и невежеството.
Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating goodness and ignorance.
А понякога гуната на страстта преобладава над гуната на доброто и невежеството.
Sometimes ignorance becomes prominent, defeating goodness and passion.
А друг път преобладава гуната на невежеството и тя също преобладава над гуната на страстта и доброто.
In this way there's always competition for supremacy among the modes of material nature.
И така винаги има една борба за превъзходство за гуните на материалната природа.
So this is also very significant.
И това също е от голямо значение.
This is the actual meaning of struggling for existence.
И това е всъщност борбата, това представлява борбата за съществуване.
Everybody struggles in order to defeat the modes of nature. Sometimes living entity wants to be situated in the mode of goodness. But what does it mean? Although he wants to do it very peacefully, but it is not possible. Because if you want to be situated in the mode of goodness, you have to defeat, you have to fight against passion and ignorance. And another time we want to be situated in the mode of passion. But then you have to fight against goodness and ignorance. Sometimes we just want to forget everything, just be merged in the mode of ignorance. But then you have to fight against passion and goodness. So there's no peace in this world. The other modes are always agitating you, nagging at you. And sometimes we even think, now I became victorious over the modes. Just like when you fight against somebody. Let's take for example boxing. Boxing. Boxer. You're boxing against somebody in a ring. And so sometimes you defeat him, he's knocked out to the ground. Then you feel very strong, victorious. But then there's counting, countdown. And at the last moment he gets up again. And then you get a punch in your face. Then you're knocked out. That's like the mode of ignorance, you're knocked out. But then there's countdown, mode of passion. All your fans are, how to say, they're screaming, get up, get up, get up, come on, you can do it. Mode of passion, then you feel, yeah, I should get up. I shall not give up. Maybe I can defeat him. So then you get up again. Then you fight. And then you might defeat him. He is knocked out again. And then you enjoy. You enjoy your own victory. That's a mode of goodness. Then again, he's attacking you. So there's no peace when you're boxing in the ring. There's no question of peace, being situated in your own victory or whatever. Of course, sometimes we might be a little longer situated in goodness. So the other person, opponent, he is knocked out and you won. So cheering, you leave the stadium. But you cannot for long enjoy your own glory. Because for sure somebody will get ready to challenge you. Although you became the world master. But there are a lot of people getting ready, training very hard. And then all of a sudden somebody from South America, he challenges you. And then the fight goes on. And then you're getting a little older. And it's becoming more and more difficult to fight. So that Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. That everybody is struggling with material nature. Daivesha gunamai mama maya durataya. Krishna explains it is impossible to conquer material nature. Mamaivam sujiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. That's the other verse. These living entities in this material world who are fragmental parts of Krishna. They are struggling very, very hard against material nature. Because they have to struggle with their own senses, which includes the mind. And in other verse of Brahma, Bhuvana, Loka, from the highest planet down to the lowest planet, these are all places of misery. So sometimes our Western Indologists, when they read the Bhagavad Purana or Bhagavad Gita, they tend to think that the Vedas, Vedic literatures, are self-negating, life-negating. So we do not deny this. The Vedas do not try to make material existence look rosy. But the Vedas are very, very realistic.
реалистично на нещата.
They do not promise, they do not make some false promise.
Те не дават обещания, които не може да се изпълнят.
The Vedas speak the truth.
Ведите говорят истината.
Therefore so many verses you find. Yes, there's also enjoyment described in the Vedas.
И също така във ведите се описва и някакво наслаждение.
But all these so-called life of enjoyments, they always end in misery.
Но този живот с наслаждение, който се описва в ведите, той в крайна сметка завършва пак с някакво страдание.
Especially Srimad Bhagavatam is filled with these stories.
И най-вече в Шримад Бхагаватам, там е пълно с такива истории.
In the beginning everything is like nectar, at the end it turns into poison.
В началото всичко е като нектар, но в края се превръща на отрова.
So many stories like that.
Най-различни такива истории.
So many stories also in the Ramayana, in the Mahabharata especially also.
Толкова много подобни истории в Рамаяна и най-вече в Махабарата.
There's so many kings enjoying life like anything.
Най-различни царе, които се наслаждават на живота.
But then at the very end of their life, they're regretting everything.
Но в края на живота си те вече съжаляват за всичко, което правят.
Oh, I just wasted my life.
И казват, просто пропилях живота си.
Just like this king Yayati.
Също като цар Яяти.
Remember, he became old. He was frustrated, so he wanted to exchange his old age with the youth of his sons.
И спомнете си, той е старял и искал да смени своята старост с младостта на сина си.
Was it Yayati? I think so.
Това беше за Яяти.
Huh? So Puru, he agreed, his youngest son.
И Пуру, по-малкият му син, се съгласил.
Oh, and then King Yayati, he could continue to enjoy.
И тогава цар Яяти има възможност да продължи да се наслаждава.
But then at the end, he just regretted everything.
Но накрая просто съжалил за всичко.
And he again accepted his old age.
И отново приел възрастта си.
And he went into the forest,
И отишъл в гората.
practicing austerity, tapasya.
Там се подлагал на различни отречения.
So by that he attained heavenly planets.
И по този начин достигнал райските планети.
Then he gives a whole, you see, then it happened that after a long period of heavenly enjoyments, he returned to the earthly planet.
И след като много дълго време се наслаждавал на райските планети, той отново се върнал на земята.
So he took birth in a righteous family.
И той се родил в едно благочестиво семейство.
And he associated with other kings like King Ashtaka, etc.
Общувал с други царе, като например цар Аштака.
And somehow they recognized this King Yayati.
И те някак се успяли да разберат, че това всъщност е цар Яяти.
Because he behaved exactly like the former King Yayati.
Защото той имал същото поведение като предишния цар Яяти.
So then he revealed his identity.
И тогава той разкрил своята самоличност.
He said, yes, formerly I have been this King Yayati.
И казва, да, наистина, по-рано бях цар Яяти.
Oh, they were very curious to know what happened after his life.
И те били много любопитни, имали много силно желание да знаят какво се е случило след края на живота.
Then he explained that he attained the heavenly planets.
И тогава той обяснил, че той достигнал райските планети.
He gave a long description where he went and how he enjoyed for thousands of heavenly years.
И той подробно им описал къде е отишъл, как се наслаждавал и то в продължение на хиляди години на райските планети.
And then he also describes one day after so much enjoyment.
И той също така им описал какво стана един ден след толкова наслаждение.
He was happily enjoying with the heavenly damsels in the Nanda, what is that? Nanda Kanana gardens, I forgot. These heavenly gardens.
И той се наслаждавал с райските девойки в едни райски градини.
So he was enjoying like anything.
И се наслаждавал много.
And all of a sudden he could hear one deep voice just behind him.
И изведнъж точно зад него чул един дълбок глас.
Go down, go down.
Слез долу, слез долу.
And then his heavenly existence was finished.
И тогава се свършил с райското му съществуване.
Then he fell into outer space.
После той пропадал в открития космос.
He was falling for 10,000 years.
И падал в продължение на 10 000 години.
With his head down first.
С глава надолу.
just falling. And then he could hear in a very sarcastic voice the other demigods. They were speaking, lamenting.
И тогава после чул какво говорят полубоговете и как се жалват.
Oh, now all his pious deeds are finished.
Сега вече се свърши с всичките му благочестиви дейности.
Oh, poor Yayati, now he has to return to earth.
Сега трябва отново да се върне на земята.
How bad. Oh, and he was suffering so much.
Той страдаше толкова много.
Then it is described also these subtle entities like Rakshasas. They were attacking him as he was falling into outer space.
И също така се описва тези живи същества, които съществуват само в фини тела, различните ракшаси, които го нападали докато той падал на Бог.
They were beating him, trying to eat him up. Oh, and he was lamenting and crying. Then his soul entered one of his own tears. And that tear fell on the earthly planet. And in this way he took birth again. So he told the other kings, therefore, I am advising you, there's no sense of trying to attain the heavenly planets. But surprisingly, he himself and all the other kings again attained the heavenly planets. Because somehow this is Vedic Dharma. For the king, perfection of his duty is to fight, either win the battle and enjoy heavenly pleasures on this earth, or lose in battle and then attain the heavenly planets. And Krishna also explains in Bhagavad Gita that those who perform fruitive activities, they do not know any other goal. So maybe we can lock the door or something. It's too distracting. Just nobody should come in and walk out. And Pujari should not drop anything. Otherwise, how can we concentrate? So what was the point? Yes. So these fruitive workers, they don't know any other goal. Let me perform yagyas, chant mantras, and then attain heavenly pleasures. You see, because Krishna, he instructed Arjuna that he should not entangle himself in fruitive activities. And then Arjuna, he concluded, oh, that's nice, so I just stop all activities. And then I joined the sages in the forest, practicing the yoga system. Then Krishna, you see, the Vaishnava Acharyas explain that when Lord Krishna instructed the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, there are so many, in between these verses of Bhagavad Gita, in the mind of Krishna and in the mind of Arjuna, so much more conversation took place. Therefore, sometimes you might feel that when you read the verses of Bhagavad Gita, there might be sometimes a gap between one verse and the next one. It's difficult to find the link, the connection. Sometimes we feel like this. How is it possible that Krishna comes to this point now? Because Arjuna, he had so many thoughts in his mind before speaking. And Krishna could understand all these thoughts. And then he responded with the next verse. Or sometimes Krishna, and then he had thoughts, and Arjuna, he picked up Krishna's thoughts, and then he responded. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other Vaishnava Acharyas, they even wrote commentaries on these verses spoken within the mind of Arjuna or Krishna. I don't need this light anymore. Okay. So, again somebody. Huh? So what was the point now? Yes, they wrote commentaries. But what was my original point? Krishna instructed Arjuna. You see, I lost the point. Too much things. Huh? No, before this. Before this point. What was my point? Krishna instructed Arjuna. Oh, yeah, so then Krishna, Arjuna, he concluded, after deliberating, he concluded, so then devotional service or Krishna consciousness means I stop all these activities. You see, this is not directly written in Bhagavad Gita, but Arjuna, he thought, therefore let me go to the forest, join the sages, practice the yoga system, etc., etc. And then Krishna, he picked up on it. Oh, you want to practice the yoga system? Okay, let's start the 6th chapter now of Bhagavad Gita. And then he gives a whole description of the Ashtanga yoga system. So then Arjuna, he concluded, okay. With Shamchalam, Himana, Krishna, Pramadi, Balavadritam, I cannot practice this yoga system. Especially for Kshatriya, it is impossible. Huge muscles and sitting like a yogi, it doesn't work. Especially at the end of Dvapara Yuga, beginning of Kali Yuga, it is impossible to practice this yoga system. And sometimes we as devotees, sometimes we try to be also a little bit like yogis. And then we are sitting like yogis trying to chant, closing our eyes. Especially in winter time, we lean against the heater. But after 3 minutes, you just you lose all concentration. After 3 minutes, could not even finish one round. And we have so much taste for the holy name that it falls right out of our mouth. Yeah. Just like when you eat something and it's very distasteful, you spit it out. So we have so much taste for the holy name. When we chant, it just falls out of our mouth. So Arjuna, he could understand it. Forget about this yoga system. But then Arjuna, then Krishna, he describes. You see, devotion service does not mean to stop activities. But the Krishna consciousness means to act for me, according to Vedic injunctions, according to your duty. So then Arjuna concluded again, then it is possible to perform these fruitive activities. Oh, that's nice. So then I can be very active, enjoy the results for Krishna. Then again, Krishna, he corrected Arjuna. No, you are allowed to perform your duty. You have all right to do so. And you should do. But you are not entitled to enjoy the fruits. Well, then again Arjuna was confused. The first you're telling me to stop activities, then again you're telling me to be active, and now you're telling me again I should be active but not enjoy the fruits. I'm confused by your instructions. So therefore it's not so easy to understand the process of pure devotion service. But one thing Krishna instructed Arjuna. You should not reject the Vedas, because then you become a nasty atheist. But you should try to rise above that section of the Vedas which deal with the three modes of material nature, fruitive activities. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtragunya Bhavajuna. Not that you reject the Vedas, that's not the point. You see, it is explained that among all the Vedic mantras in the Vedic scriptures, there are 96% dealing with the Karma Kandya section. And only 4%, the Upanishads, they deal with the process of liberation. And therefore Krishna, he instructs Arjuna that common people are simply bewildered by the flowery language of the Vedas. Promising fruitive results for enjoyment. So Arjuna, you should not become bewildered by this Karma Kandya section of the Vedas. You should rise above it and come to the conclusion of the Vedas, the more important section of the Vedas, dealing with the process of eternal liberation. And what is the actual goal of all the Vedic knowledge? Vedasha savaya ham eva vedyo vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. Simply to know me. And what does that mean, to know Krishna?
Какво означава човек да познава, да знае Кришна?
First of all, to know Krishna as he is.
Първо трябва да познаваме Кришна такъв какъвто е.
As explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he is the goal of all fruitive activities.
И както казва в Шримад Бхагаватам, той е целта на всички плодоносни дейности.
What does it mean, the goal?
Какво означава целта?
One should perform all these ritualistic activities in order to please Krishna.
Човек трябва да извършва всички тези ритуали, просто за да удовлетвори Кришна.
That means goal, to please Krishna.
И това е целта, да удовлетворим Кришна.
So that's the goal of studying the Vedas.
Това е целта на изучаването на ведите.
Krishna, he is the goal of fruitive activities.
Кришна е целта на плодоносните дейности.
Krishna is the goal of yagyas.
Кришна е крайната цел на ягите.
Krishna is the goal of the yoga system.
Кришна е крайната цел на йога.
So in this way, Krishna revealed himself to be the supreme goal of everything.
И така Кришна разкрива, че той е крайната цел на всичко.
And Arjuna, he realized it.
И Арджуна осъзнал това.
Oh, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavam, Purusham, Shashvatam, Divyam, that you are the supreme personality of Godhead. Param Brahma, you are the supreme Brahman. You see, this Brahman does not refer to the impersonal feature of the Lord. Also in the Vedanta Sutta. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. This Brahma does not refer to the impersonal feature. That's how the impersonalists interpret Vedanta Sutta. Therefore, Vedavyas, he knew that this verse will be misused by the impersonalists. Therefore, in the very next verse, Vyasadeva, he defines the absolute truth. He gives a clear definition of what is this Brahman. Janmadiya Sayataha. Brahman means from that everything emanates. So these Mayavadis, they do not understand how this material existence emanates from Brahman. Because it is impossible. In the impersonal Brahman, we don't find any qualities. We don't find any activities, nothing. There's no objects, no form, nothing. Then how can this be the cause of this material manifestation? Which is full of activities, form, everything. So therefore, they twist or concoct their own philosophy by stating that only this Brahman is truth. Brahma Satyam and Jagat Mithya. But this Jagat, this universe, this is false. It doesn't even exist. That's Mayavad philosophy. Of course, for us it sounds ridiculous. But they are completely convinced of this. And they can explain and twist the Sanskrit grammar in such a way that people they begin to believe. Yes, this world doesn't exist. So all our problems are solved. Because all these problems do not exist, this world does not exist. Actually, Buddhist philosophy is similar.
подобно.
Nirvana, that's the same concept.
Нирвана, това е същата концепция.
We only experience so much pain or even pleasure in this world because we identify with this illusory world.
Ние усещаме удоволствие или страдания в този свят, защото се отъждествяваме с този иллюзорен свят.
Of course, that's not completely wrong.
Разбира се, това не е напълно погрешно.
But they try to solve the problem by imagining that this world doesn't even exist.
Но те се опитват да разрешат проблемите си, като си представят, си въобразяват, че този свят изобщо не съществува.
Our process is different.
Нашия процес е по-различен.
This world exists.
Този свят съществува.
But we simply have to become detached from this world.
Но ние просто трябва да станем непривързани към този свят.
Not out of frustration, because you cannot enjoy, conclude it doesn't exist.
Не просто защото сме разочаровани от този свят, да стигнем до заключението, че той не съществува.
That's the very basis of impersonal philosophy.
И на това се основава имперсоналната философия.
Simply frustration.
Просто разочарование.
Like the old example, fox, he cannot reach the sweet grapes. He's jumping.
Върнем на стария пример с лисицата, която може да стигне до гроздето.
Then he concludes, in any case, they're sour.
И казва, тъй иначе той е кисел.
Then he walks away.
Ще се заминава.
So everybody tries to enjoy this world.
Всички се опитват да се наслаждават на този
And when
свят.
they cannot enjoy it,
И когато не успяват,
then they become philosophers.
стават философи.
Concluding that in any case, this world doesn't even exist.
И казват, тъй иначе този свят не съществува.
But then our argument is, it does not exist.
Но ние казваме, той, ако не съществува,
What about the shoe? My shoe. Does my shoe exist?
тогава какво да кажем за обувката, тя не съществува ли?
And he answers no.
Той казва не.
Then you beat on his head.
Той го удари по главата.
Does it exist?
Съществува ли?
So, latest after 3 hits on his head, he has to agree.
И след 3 удара по главата, той трябва да се съгласи.
All his big philosophy is finished.
И свършвам с цялата му велика
Yes,
философия.
okay, stop, it exists.
Това просто съществува. Стига
Of course this material world exists.
Разбира се, че материалният свят съществува.
But these impersonalists, they do not understand that there are two different types of Brahman.
Но имперсоналистите не разбират, че има два вида браман.
The Nirguna Brahman, Saguna Brahman.
Ниргуна браман и сагуна браман.
This Nirguna Brahman can transform into Saguna Brahman, but they don't understand.
Ниргуна браман може да се трансформира в сагуна браман, но те не са в състояние да разберат това.
This is too above their heads.
Това е повече отколкото могат да възприемат.
They refuse to be educated in this.
Те отказват да получат някакво знание по този въпрос.
It is too high philosophy.
Това е вече твърде висша философия.
So actually this Krishna, our philosophy in Krishna consciousness, it is not so simplistic.
Така че философията на Кришна съзнание не е толкова проста.
It's a very, very deep philosophy.
Това е една много дълбока философия.
Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he argued with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya,
Например, когато Чайтания Махапрабху спорил с Сарвабхаума Бхаттачаря,
they spoke such deep Vedantic philosophy.
и те говорили за такива дълбоки истини от веданта философия.
But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave a perfect example.
Но Чайтания Махапрабху дава съвършен пример.
He didn't argue really,
Той всъщност не спорил,
because people are not qualified in this age of Kali.
защото хората не притежават качество в епохата на Кали,
Discuss philosophy
за да може да обсъждат философия.
based on nyaya logic. Nobody knows.
И то философия, която се основава на няя, т.е. на логика, никой не е в състояние да...
See, that's a problem when you discuss philosophy here in the West, Western countries especially.
И същия е проблема, когато се говори за философия тук в западния свят.
But people in general don't know the principles of nyaya logic.
Хората не познават принципите на няя, т.е. на логиката.
In using logic, there are rules and regulations.
При използването на логиката, т.е. логиката има определени правила, които трябва да се следват.
And nobody knows this.
И никой не ги познава.
So when you argue with people,
И когато човек спори с хората,
they violate these rules of logic left and right all the time.
те изобщо напълно пренебрегват тези правила.
jumping from one conclusion to a completely opposite conclusion, and you have to jump behind him like a monkey.
Като скачат от едно заключение на напълно противоположно заключение, и вие трябва да ги следвате, да скачате след тях като маймуни.
And finally, when you corner him,
И крайна сметка, когато ги затиснете в ъгъла,
then he says, in any case, this is all your opinion.
и така казвате, че това е ваше мнение.
And then he walks away.
И се заминава.
Nobody surrenders to any defeat.
Никой не признава, че е победен.
But in early days or bygone ages, actually philosophers, great philosophers, they were defeated and they surrendered on the spot.
Но в отминалите времена отдавна понякога велики философи са били побеждавани и те са признавали това.
When you defeated somebody, he became your disciple.
Когато някой философ победи в диспута друг философ, тогава победение става негов ученик.
This was the practical result. That was the practical result.
И това е било крайният резултат.
But nowadays this doesn't work anymore.
Но в днешно време това вече не действа.
So therefore Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was listening for how many days? I forgot. 7 days? Wow. 7 days. Listening. So Sarvabhauma, he was talking. And at one point he became a little skeptical. So he stopped talking. I mean, you are not responding, you don't say yes, you don't say no. Are you agree or you don't agree? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he answered for the first time. No, I understand Vedanta Sutra perfectly. But I don't understand your explanation. What? Then you explain. Then he explained. So this should be our preaching attitude. Sometimes people, they just want to hear themselves talking. So let them talk. But because they are not Sarvabhauma but Acharyas, after maximum 7 minutes, they run out of knowledge. And at that point you start. But we should not waste our time arguing, quarreling like cats and dogs. That's just waste of time. There's no so many problems, so many doubts, arguments, they all cease to exist when people actually begin to taste the nectar of the holy name. Just like yesterday in the program. At the end, actually, some people surrendered. All their doubts and thinking everything was finished, they just went in front of the stage and started dancing. And immediately they were happy, you could see it. Oh, they felt so happy, dancing, raising their arms. But the others still, they were thinking, what does it mean? They were not happy. You could see the difference. Those who maintained their thoughts and doubts, they were not happy. But those who just surrendered to the process of chanting Hare Krishna, immediately you could see the difference. They were getting up, dancing in ecstasy. You see, that's the process of Krishna consciousness. It's a very simple process, but the difficulty is to surrender to it. But actually that is not even difficult. What's the difficulty? You just have to chant Hare Krishna. But even that becomes difficult in Kali Yuga. Like Srila Prabhupada always used to tell, he saw once in a newspaper one, I don't know the English word, caricature, I don't know. Yeah. And so there was one old man and old lady. And then the old lady requested the old man, chant, chant, chant. And then he turned around his head like this. And he said, can't. Can't, cannot. That's in British. So he answered, cannot. That's the problem, it's so simple. Just say Hare Krishna. Just like doing the programs when we request people, can you repeat? No, Hare. Then everybody's looking. Nobody wants to do it. What's the problem? Just say Hare. Maybe 1, 2, Hare. So many doubts. In Kali Yuga, people are drowning in their own doubts. What can you lose? What do you lose when you say Hare? But no. What to speak of Krishna? They say anything else except Krishna. That's also a symptom of Kali Yuga. Just listen to any conversation. People talking so much. But when will you hear the word Krishna? Never. So that's the symptom of Kali Yuga. There's one very nice verse in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Shukadeva Goswami, he explains. In the age of Kali, the people are so disqualified. They have no good qualifications. But on the higher planets, just like Lord Brahma, all the principal demigods, they have so many high qualifications. They are highly qualified, full of strength, knowledge, wisdom, everything. So they all think of themselves as servant of Krishna. They all bow down at the lotus feet of Krishna. And then Shukadeva Goswami, he tells Maharaj Parikshit, but these creatures in the Kali Yuga, they will not do so. Although they have no strength, no knowledge, no qualifications. But they're so proud. Proud of nothing. Just proud of their own nose they're holding high in the sky. They will not surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Although big demigods, they do so. So in this way he is lamenting the age of Kali. But then of course he concludes. Kale doshimade rajan asteko mahan gunaha kirtanat eva krishnasya mukta sangha param vaje. Although the Kali Yuga, it is just like an ocean full of doshas, not these doshas we offered to the deities. Doshas, full of faults.
И въпреки, че този океан на Кали Юга той е изпълнен с доши, тези доши, които предлагаме на морето, трябва да са грешки.
But sometimes our doshas are also full of faults.
Някои наши доши също са пълни с грешки.
They're a little difficult to make properly doshas.
Малко трудно е да се оформят както трябва доши.
So, but still, there's one good thing in this Kali Yuga.
Въпреки всичко има едно добро нещо в Кали Юга.
And the nice thing is that simply by chanting Hare Krishna, mukti, one becomes liberated.
И това е, че просто като повтаря човек Харе Кришна, следва мукти, т.е. той се освобождава.
This is the nice thing in Kali Yuga.
И това е хубавото в Кали Юга.
In the previous ages, it was so difficult to attain liberation.
Предишните епохи било толкова трудно човек да постигне
But
освобождение.
Kali Yuga, same result of liberation is achieved just by chanting Hare Krishna.
Но в Кали Юга се постига същия резултат, човек се освобождава просто като повтаря Харе Кришна.
Therefore, it is explained in the Shastras
И затова в шастрите се казва,
that these demigods, they are standing in a long queue, long line, waiting to take birth in the Kali Yuga.
и затова се казва, че полубоговете те чакат на дълга опашка, за да се родят в Кали Юга.
Because it's so easy to attain liberation.
В тази епоха е много лесно човек да се освободи.
That's our own experience.
И ние имаме опит за това.
We didn't have any special qualifications.
Ние също не сме притежавали кой знае какви качества.
If we would have some special qualifications, we wouldn't sit here, most probably.
Ако имахме някакви наистина специални качества, нямаше да седим тук.
Because Srila Prabhupada used to say, even a beggar, he is proud of his one penny.
И Прабхупад казва, че един просек, дори просека се гордее с едното пени, което има.
So any little qualification, people immediately you become so proud.
И затова, дори за най-малкото добро качество, което притежават хората, се възгордяват веднага.
Why should I chant Hare Krishna?
Но защо да повтарям Харе Кришна?
I have my profession, my job.
Имам си професия, работа.
Very proud.
Много хора.
Or any little qualification you might have.
Независимо какво мъничко качество притежавам.
Just because your nose is sitting at the right place, you're so proud.
Само защото носа ви е правилно поставен и вече сте горди.
And you don't want to chant Hare Krishna.
И не искате да повтаряте Харе Кришна.
So this is lamentable.
И това наистина е много жалко.
Because Shukadeva Goswami, he praises the process of chanting Hare Krishna.
Шукадева Госвами възхвалява процеса на повтарянето на Харе Кришна.
But then again he concludes, but these people are so unfortunate in Kali Yuga, although it's so simple, they will not do it.
И Шукадева Госвами казва, въпреки че е толкова просто, хората в Кали Юга са толкова нещастни, толкова злочести, че те няма да направят.
Therefore, everything depends on the mercy of the pure devotees of Krishna.
И това всичко зависи от милостта на чистите преданни дадени на Кришна.
That is explained in the purport of Srila Prabhupada.
И точно това обяснява Прабхупад в коментар.
And he gives the example of Narada Muni.
Той дава пример с Нарада Муни.
He was born, anyway, we don't have to repeat. So he also attained perfection of life just by associating with pure devotees.
Нарада Муни също постигнал съвършенство в живота си, просто като общува в чисти преданни дадени.
That's the only hope people have in this Kali Yuga.
Това е единствената надежда, която имат хората в Кали Юга.
Association with the pure devotees of Krishna.
Да общуват с чистите преданни дадени на Кришна.
And Srila Prabhupada, he writes in another purport,
И в един друг коментар Шрила Прабхупад казва.
therefore we have to be very, very much cautious
И затова трябва много да внимаваме,
that we maintain our high standard of pure Krishna consciousness.
да поддържаме високия си стандарт на чисто Кришна съзнание.
Because then when people visit our temple, associate with us, immediately they will be liberated.
Защото до тогава, когато хората идват в храма и общуват с нас, те веднага ще се освободят.
So we cannot overemphasize the importance of practicing Krishna consciousness as purely as possible.
И затова ние трябва много да наблягаме на това да практикуваме Кришна съзнание колкото се може по-чисто.
By not allowing to enter any other interest.
И да не позволяваме да навлизат каквито да било други интереси.
Save and accept pure devotion service.
С изключение на чистото предано, трябва да държим само на чистото предано служение.
We should not make any compromise.
Не трябва да няма никакви компромиси.
We should stick to the proper principles of Krishna consciousness.
Твърдо да се придържаме към принципите на Кришна съзнание.
Chanting 60 rounds every day, 16 rounds.
Да мъдруваме всеки ден по 16 кръга.
Not 8, 10,
не 10.
at least 16 rounds.
А поне 16.
And all the other principles, rules and regulations.
И всички останали принципи, правила и предписания.
And then there's some hope in this age of Kali.
И тогава човек вече може да има някаква надежда в епохата на Кали.
That people might attain liberation by associating with the devotees of Krishna.
Че хората ще постигнат освобождение като общуват с преданно дадените на Кришна.
Good, we shall stop here.
Ще спрем до тук.
Is there any question, perhaps?
Може би има някакви въпроси.
No question? Okay, there's one. Not today. Not today, he has no question. Or maybe he will ask tomorrow about today. Okay.
Чели сме всички за това, че под земята има няколко райски планети, доколкото си спомням, така беше описано в тези места, които учихме. И понеже никой не може да даде отговор за това, какви са точно тези планети. Райски.
Was able to explain me something about this heavenly planets under the earth. So
Under the or in the earth? Beneath. Inside the earth.
В земята или под земята?
Под земята, така пишеш.
Не вътре в планетата, а под.
Не, под under, доколкото това е под земята.
Under the earth.
Beneath the earth.
Beneath the earth.
It's not. It is called Bila Svarga.
Това значи бил сварга.
Svarga means heaven.
Сварга значи райски.
But Bila means underneath.
А бил означава под.
It's a lower heaven.
Това е по-ниско установена рай.
It is a hellish planet, but heavenly.
Това са всъщност адски планети, но те са и райски. Те са райски.
There's heavenly enjoyment.
Защото на тях има райско наслаждение.
But not on the basis of being devotees of Krishna.
Но не за това, че хората там са преданно дадени на Кришна.
But on the basis of technological advancement.
Наслаждение идва от технологическия напредък.
These people down there, they're so advanced, they can even reach by some mechanical means heavenly planets and fight with the demigods.
Хората там са толкова напреднали, че с технически средства могат да достигнат райските планети и там да се бият с полубоговете.
So they have all kinds of material powers.
Така че те притежават най-различни материални могъщества.
But they are asuric by nature.
Но по природа те са асурска природа.
So that Bila Svarga exists just below this earthly planet.
И Била Сварга съществува точно под земната планета.
Why you want to go there?
Искаш ли да отидеш там?
No? Yeah.
Аз имам един въпрос точно по темите, които сега разгледам. Основният момент на живите същества в духовния свят е наслаждението. Шрила Прабхупада казва, че живите същества се създават и се наслаждават. Материалният свят, така ли, че основният момент идва до отречението или страданието, отречение от тия наслаждения в материалния свят. Защо се приема, че страданията в материалния свят ще накара живото същество да се върне обратно, а не обратното наслаждението? Защото в духовния свят наслаждението е основното, което кара живото същество да стане там.
My question is related to the lecture you gave now. So, in the spiritual world, the basic thing is enjoyment. Which Prabhupada is saying that the living entities are created for enjoyment. And in the material world, the basic thing is to renounce the enjoyment. To renounce the enjoyment in order to reach the spiritual world. So why this renouncing of enjoyment is the way to attain perfection instead of to enjoy, because to enjoy the nature of the living creatures or the living entities.
And there's a pravriti mark, nivriti mark.
Има pravriti marg и nivriti marg.
We follow the process of nivriti mark. But even that is very difficult. This is what the yogis do. They renounce all enjoyment. But that's not what we do. We only have to renounce those things which are obstacles on the path of devotion service. We don't renounce every enjoyment. There's so much enjoyment in Krishna consciousness. So we don't renounce that. We don't renounce eating. We eat. But we renounce those foodstuffs which are not favorable, which we cannot engage in Krishna or offer to Krishna. In other words, we give enjoyment to Krishna. That's our process of renunciation. When you see some nice flower, you immediately offer to Krishna. Then you enjoy the prasad. That's bona fide enjoyment. But first let Krishna enjoy. And then we can enjoy. There's nothing wrong about it. But again, we have to be alert that this enjoying Krishna's remnants, prasad, does not turn again into the enjoying spirit separate from Krishna. We have to be a little careful about this. In other words, whatever's unfavorable for my devotion to Krishna, service to this we renounce, we reject. Just like when you offer juicy halava. The juicy, fatty, nice tasting halava. Then, so you enjoy the prasad. But you shall not eat too much. I mean, in the beginning, we can eat a lot. That's good. You know, that means Krishna, he enters our stomach, and then Maya has to go out. So, in the beginning, we should eat as much as possible. Otherwise, if we don't eat as much as possible, we have to take some substitute. You know, go into some shop and buy some nonsense. So eat enough prasadam. There should be no desire for eating left. That's good. That's what many devotees did. Even I remember Sahoda Swami or Sachinananda Swami also. Sachinananda Swami, he was eating so much. I mean, everybody did. Once he won the first prize in Sankirtan. So the first prize was a pot, a medium-sized pot full of halava. Something like maybe 2.5 liters. Halava. So he won the prize. And we thought he will eat, something, and then we get the rest. But he finished a whole pot. Completely empty. We couldn't believe it. Wow. And then he took rest for 4 hours afterwards. Then he got up out of coma. And then life went on. So many did in the beginning. You're eating so much. But that's good, because then you forget about eating nonsense. But then as you advance in Krishna consciousness, it is expected that you begin to eat a little less. Because otherwise the whole enjoying the remnants of Krishna again turns into the separate mentality, mentality of enjoying separate from Krishna. It's not good when an old, senior devotee, he is lying on his belly every day for 4 or 5 hours because he ate too much. Where's our old Brahmana? He has to worship the deities now. And then he's lying somewhere on his belly. Oh, because he ate too much. Because that then begins to disturb our service for Krishna. Therefore this should be also rejected. But in any case, when you grow older, you cannot eat so much in any case. Even if you want, you cannot eat so much. Because of your liver, your kidneys, and your stomach, so many things wrong. So we should not artificially renounce, that's not good. No, wait till you grow a little older, then you have to renounce anyway. So no artificial renunciation, but also no over excess, continuously and enjoying. Therefore Krishna, he says, nobody can become a yogi if he eats too much, too little, sleeps too much, sleeps too little, sleeps too little. So we have to do it in a moderate way. In a balanced way. And then we will become successful. Okay? Yeah.
Жените, които са тук, на какво се създават?
Жените, която е служила райски план. Тя всъщност като мъж ли сте работа и като жена не почва да наслаждава на райски план. Не мъже ли?
Първи въпрос какво беше?
За как друго на райски.
So, if the demigods are waiting to take birth in this earthly planet, in the heavenly planets, is it now Kali Yuga?
That manifests in different ways, Kali Yuga, on the different planets. But this yuga influences the entire universe. These yugas are the universal change seasons.
тези юги, те са вселенските сезони.
Just like we have winter, summer seasons.
Например, тук имаме зима, лято.
So the seasons of the universe are these yugas.
А сезоните на вселената са тези юги.
But it is described on the Brahma Loka, for instance.
Например, се казва, че на Брахма Лока
The Kali Yuga just passes by like a small dark rain cloud.
Кали Юга просто преминава като един малък дъждовен облак.
That's a Kali Yuga.
Това е Кали Юга.
But then a little lower planet, it's a little bit bigger, the cloud.
На по-ниските планети облак е малко по-голям.
Below this one, huge.
Под тях вече е един огромен.
And below this one, more things are affected like this.
И на още по-ниските планети още повече неща Кали Юга оказва влияние.
So different degrees of effect according to the different planets.
Така че има различно влияние според планетите. Yesterday, someone asked himself if in the heavenly planets men are enjoying women, the stars. So, what is the enjoyment of women in the heavenly planets? Are they enjoying men?
No, but it's not like here. The enjoyment on this planet is different.
Но наслаждението там не е като наслаждението тук. Там е различно.
In a much more cultured way.
Там е много по-културно.
And also, as far as I have information, at least on some heavenly planets, they only beget one child.
Колкото аз знам, на някои от райските планети те се само по едно дете.
But they can enjoy this relationship very, very much, but only once the women become pregnant.
Те могат да се наслаждават на тези взаимоотношения много, много дълго време, но жената ги пременява само един път.
But it is not like on this planet. You cannot compare.
Не може да се прави сравнение с тази планета.
It's a completely different level of relationship and enjoyment.
Там нивото на наслаждение и взаимоотношенията са напълно различни, на съвсем друго ниво.
What's the basis of that second question?
Всъщност, какво основата, какво си има предвид в този втори въпрос?
Точно този човек не попита един друг човек.
Не, това е друго.
Всъщност, че той пита какво се наслаждават жените конкретно. Защото за мъжете се казва, че се наслаждават по някакъв друг начин. Какво се наслаждават жените? Той се интересуваше от това.
So, it was the question of somebody.
Oh, I see.
His question. Somebody asked him.
No, women in general, they enjoy to be enjoyed by men. That's what they enjoy.
Жените се наслаждават, но това да дават наслаждение на мъжете. Това е тяхното наслаждение.
Of course, nowadays there's a whole conflict and discussions on the nature of women.
Разбира се, в днешно време има голям конфликт, много дискусии за природата на жената.
But that's another topic.
Това е друга тема.
And also, now actually that's a new trend. They are discussing what is the actual nature of a man.
Сега има хора, които всъщност каква е природата на мъжете.
Because at least in some Western countries they noticed that many men they take on the nature and qualities more and more of women.
Защото са забелязали, че много мъже в днешно време започват да придобиват природата и качеството на жени.
So they begin to ponder what is actually a man and what is a woman.
И те започнат да разсъждават всъщност какво представлява мъжа и какво представлява жена.
They're getting more and more confused.
И все повече се объркват.
And then at one point they might question themselves what is actually a human being.
И в един момент може да се запитат всъщност какво е човешкото същество.
You see, all these moral principles, they lose foundation more and more.
Тези морални принципи, те се повече и повече да безпочват.
They think these are simply old traditions we follow.
И хората казват, това са просто стари, вече устаряли традиции, които следваме.
All these ethical rules of ethics, moral principles.
Всички тези етични правила, целият този морал,
What is actually good, what is bad.
какво е добро, кое не е добре.
Nobody knows anymore.
Никой вече няма представа.
Any other question?
Друг въпрос?
There's one.
Животни, които действат в гумата, невежеството.
Има ли животни?
Да, не се те привели само на човешките форми на живота.
Гумата на страстта и невежеството? Are there animals which are acting in the mode of passion and ignorance? Aren't these modes privileged forms of human beings?
No, the modes also affect the animals, of course.
Не, разбира се, гуните оказват влияние върху животните.
The animals in the mode of goodness, passion, ignorance.
Има животни в модът на доброто, страстта и невежеството.
Yes, I thought you know.
Мисля, че знаеш.
No? Cow is supposed to be in the mode of goodness.
Кравата е в модът на доброто,
And a lion, passion.
а пък лъва в модът на страстта,
Monkey, ignorance.
а има в невежество.
Through these spaces of life, normally the living entity attains the human form.
И чрез от тези форми на живот, живото същество стига до човешка форма.
So therefore human beings take birth more in the mode of passion, goodness or ignorance.
И това хората се раждат в съответно модът на страстта, доброто или невежество.
Depends through which of these three doors you enter the room of your human body.
Зависи от коя от тези врати живото същество е влязло в стаята на човешкото тяло.
Yeah?
Малко повече.
Значи има определени причини, описани някъде, които поради които човек изпада в момента. Къде мога да ги видим?
I have heard that somewhere described the reasons to fall in mind. Where can I find these reasons?
I can make available. I just have to print it out.
Мога да ти го дам, трябва просто да го отпечатам.
Don't worry.
Не се притеснявай.
You will get out of Maya fast.
Бързо ще излезеш от Майя.
Any other question?
Някакъв друг въпрос?
Yeah.
Слушал съм, че в трета юга най-святото место това е езерото Пушка.
Can we open the door a little bit?
Може да кажа нещо обяснение повече за това свято място.
Пушка?
Да.
I have heard that in the Treta Yuga the най-святото място.
Да. Тази епоха.
In this age the most holy place, the holiest place was the lake Pushka.
Yeah, there's a verse like this, I remember.
Да, има наистина такъв стих. Спомням си. If you can explain something more about...
No, this is too technical.
Това е твърде технично.
I don't have information on that.
Нямам информация за това.
This is too technical.
Това е технически въпрос.
I would just find the verse and then look at the purport, and you can do the same thing. Don't be lazy.
Аз ще намеря текста, ще прочита коментара, ти може да направи същото, не бъди мързелив.
Yeah.
You said this in Kali Yuga, the chanting of the holy name is the only process for liberation. But what was then the obstacle in these earlier ages when the people were much more advanced? Qualified.
The qualification.
Yeah.
Obstacles?
Yeah. What were the obstacles for those people in the previous ages to practice this kind of delivering themselves?
What kind? This kind?
Chanting the holy name.
Oh, chanting the holy name.
В тази епоха хората не притежават качество и затова им е трудно да представят цялото име по този начин да се освободят, но каква е била пречката за хората в другите епохи, след като те са имали много повече качества и каква е била за тях пречката да следят този процес на освобождение?
There was no obstacle, they were fully qualified.
За тях нямало такава пречка, те наистина са притежавали много положителни качества.
But the Lord, according to their nature, he revealed a different process.
Но според природата им Богът разкрил друг процес.
So they were all obedient to the Yuga Dharma,
И те всички следвали съответната юга дарма.
but they were fully qualified to chant Hare Krishna.
Но те притежавали всички необходими качества, за да повтарят Харе Кришна.
And through that process, Yuga Dharma, they came to the point of surrendering to Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna. There are so many examples.
И като следвали съответната юга дарма, те се отдали на Кришна и започнали да повтарят Харе Кришна. Това е описано на много места.
But it was not the Yuga Dharma to chant Hare Krishna.
Но тяхната юга дарма не било да мантруват Харе Кришна.
That became the Yuga Dharma now.
Това е юга дарма сега в момента.
But they were fully qualified.
Не, че те притежавали всички необходими качества.
But by Krishna's arrangement, he revealed another process.
Но Кришна така уредил нещата, че за тях имал друг процес.
Any other question?
Друг въпрос?
There's one. Ask it.
Имаш въпрос, като четеш книги?
Да, и след лекции.
I have no questions after the lectures and also while reading Prabhupada's books. So what can I do?
When he reads and hears lectures, he has no question. He should chant Hare Krishna. All these discussions they should result in chanting Hare Krishna.
Всички тези разговори, всички тези дискусии, които провеждаме, те трябва в крайна сметка да завършат с повтарянето на Харе Кришна.
In increasing our faith in chanting Hare Krishna.
Трябва да усилят вярата ни при повтарянето на Харе Кришна.
But if you do not increase your faith in chanting Hare Krishna, then you should have a question.
Но ако вярата ти в този процес на повтаряне на Харе Кришна не се увеличава, тогава трябва да имаш въпрос.
At least you should ask the question, why I don't have any taste for chanting Hare Krishna.
И ако не друго, трябва поне да зададеш въпроса, защо нямам никакъв вкус, никакво желание да повтарям Харе Кришна.
But if you have no problems, then there's no need to ask questions.
Но ако нямаш проблеми, не е необходимо да задаваш въпрос.
Of course, later on, when you begin to relish all these different stories, pastimes of Krishna,
Но по-късно, когато вече наистина започнеш да оценяваш и да се наслаждаваш на тези забавления и истории за Кришна,
then you will develop questions related to Krishna's pastimes.
тогава вече ще можеш да задаваш въпроси, които са свързани с забавлението на Кришна.
If you are not very philosophical minded,
След като не си философски настроен,
at least you should ask questions about Krishna's pastimes.
трябва да задаваш въпроси поне за забавлението на Кришна.
But if you have no questions about Krishna's pastimes, then you have a problem.
И ако нямаш въпроси дори за забавлението на Кришна, тогава вече има някакъв проблем.
Then you should ask questions.
И трябва да задаваш въпроси.
So it depends on one's nature.
Така че зависи от природата на човек.
Some have more questions, some less, some no questions.
Ако имат повече въпроси, други по-малко, трети никакви.
But when you try to advance in Krishna consciousness,
Но когато се опитваш да напредваш в Кришна съзнание,
especially when you want to be established in the Brahminical life,
и най-вече когато искаш да водиш когато искаш да водиш живот на Брахмана,
which is necessary in order to advance,
което е необходимо, за да можеш да напреднеш,
you must have some questions.
трябва да имаш някакви въпроси.
Of course, if you understand everything, then there's no need to ask questions.
Разбира се, ако разбереш всичко, не е необходимо да задаваме въпроси.
Then you just spread Krishna consciousness.
Това е просто разпространявай Кришна съзнание.
Take care of the questions of others.
Отговаряй на въпросите на други.
But normally a devotee, he should not think, I have no problems.
Но един предан даден не трябва да си мисли, нямам проблем.
Because that's already a problem.
Това вече е проблем.
To think I have no problems.
Мислиш, че нямам проблем.
No, we are not so advanced.
Ние не сме толкова напреднали.
Anyway, what can I say? If you have no questions, I cannot force you.
Но какво да кажем? Ако нямаш въпроси, не мога да насилвам.
But perhaps you should study a little more careful Prabhupada's books.
Или пък може би трябва по-внимателно да изучаваш книгите на Прабхупада.
Otherwise, I can make a test with you.
Иначе мога да направя един малък тест.
I can ask questions.
Аз мога да задам.
If you don't have the answers, then you better ask questions.
И ако ти не можеш да отговориш, тогава по-добре задавай въпрос.
So get prepared.
Вече бъди готов.
We go through different purports and verses of the Bhagavad Gita, and I will ask you questions.
Ние ще четем различни текстове и коментари на Бхагавад Гита и аз ще ти задам въпрос.
Now the following statement is made here in the Bhagavad Gita. What does it mean? Explain it.
Направено има следното твърдение в Бхагавад Гита. Какво означава това? Обясни.
And if you don't know,
И ако не знаеш,
I don't know. If your answer is always I don't know, then you better ask questions
ако винаги отговаряш не знам, тогава трябва вече да задаваш въпрос.
in order to learn the philosophy.
За да научиш философията.
So maybe somebody should make tests with him.
Така че може би някой трябва да го поизпита.
Do you have Bhakta programs? Not now.
It should continue, but
How long you see devotee? How many years?
Колко години си предано даде? Almost a year.
Almost 1 year. He went through the Bhakta training.
Получили ли си такова обучение за бхакти?
Bhakta program? Huh?
We have all the same training.
So somebody should take care of him and check his philosophical knowledge and understanding.
Някой трябва да се погрижи за него и да провери доколко познава философията.
But it's a fact. It's not that all the time we have questions.
Това наистина е така. Ние не винаги имаме въпрос.
Just continue to listen faithfully.
Просто трябва да продължаваме да слушаме с вяра.
And normally when you begin to spread Krishna consciousness,
Обикновено когато човек започне да разпространява Кришна съзнание,
and so many questions come up automatically.
веднага възникват много въпроси.
Because when you preach,
Защото когато проповядвате,
if somebody has some argument, you don't know how to answer.
някой има някакъв аргумент, вие не знаете как да отговорите,
And then that's your question.
и това вече е един въпрос.
So perhaps you should try to give this knowledge to others.
Може би трябва да се опитваш да даваш това знание на другите.
That's the process how to digest the knowledge.
И по този начин ти можеш да възприемеш това знание.
You hear and then you repeat.
Чуваш и после повтаряш.
Then you can digest.
Това може да храносмеш.
Then you want to eat again.
И после ще искаш отново да го изядеш.
Because you digested nicely.
Защото добре си го снял.
So that's your thirst for knowledge.
Това е жаждата ти за знание.
And you satisfy the thirst by reading or by asking questions.
И ти ще си удовлетворен като четеш и задаваш въпроси.
But if you never give this knowledge,
Но ако никога не даваш това знание,
then you might become constipated. Verstopft. Constipated. What's the English? You eat and you cannot not digest it. You cannot go to the toilet.
да ядеш, после да не можеш да го храносмериш това знание, да не можеш да отидеш до тоалета.
So that might be a problem.
Така че това може да се превърне в проблем.
Therefore you might have no questions, you have no desire to read even.
И зато и може да нямаш въпроси, може да нямаш дори желание да четеш.
So it's like when you're constipated, you have no desire to eat.
Защото когато човек има такива проблеми с стомаха, той няма желание да яде.
But then you have to do something.
Трябва да се направи нещо.
Take some purgative. That's the name? Purgative? Yeah, purgative. You have to take some purgative. And then it works. So this purgative, that's spreading Krishna consciousness. Harinam party, you have to join the Harinam party, distribute books, distribute prasadam, take part in public preaching programs, etc.
Трябва да ходиш на Харинам, да разпространяваш книги, да разпространяваш прасадам, да взимаш участие в програмите за проповядване.
Then you revive your thirst for Krishna Katha.
И тогава отново ще възбуди жаждата си за Кришна Ката.
Good, let us stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.